Ethan borrowed $10 million from me and then faked his death, thinking he could escape with the money. But I stood guard at the mortuary, determined to ensure that his corpse went straight to the crematorium. The moment I made the call, his supposedly lifeless body twitched. The doctor, who had clearly been in on the scheme, froze in panic. "Stay strong, ma'am. Ethan." "He's gone," said the doctor, feigning sympathy. Standing in the cold, sterile mortuary, my head buzzed with noise. Just moments earlier, when I first heard the devastating news of my beloved husband's death, tears of sorrow had streamed down my face. Only a month ago, Ethan had knelt before me in tears, begging for the inheritance my father had left me to save his failing business. Without hesitation, I handed him the full $10 million. Now, here he lay, a silent, lifeless body on a stainless steel table. I was desperate to see him one last time, but that was a lifetime ago. In my previous life, Ethan had faked his death to avoid accountability and to abscond with the $10 million guilt-free. He changed his name, built a new life with his mistress, and lived lavishly abroad. And me. I was left grieving for my dead husband, never questioning how my money had been spent. I even willingly took on his debts, selling our marital home to repay creditors. Evicted and penniless, I ended up in a run-down neighborhood, reduced to running a small stall to scrape by while paying off what I thought were his liabilities. In that miserable existence, I suffered endless humiliation and harassment. My beauty, once admired, became a curse in that harsh environment. One fateful night, a group of thugs broke into my rented room, assaulting and ultimately killing me. Meanwhile, Ethan and his mistress reveled in my money, living carefree overseas. How could I not hate him? But now, I've been given a second chance, reborn an hour before Ethan's supposed death. This time, I learned the truth. He had been cheating on me. Now I stood before Ethan's icy, motionless body, watching as he struggled to keep up the charade. Tears poured down my face, and everyone thought they were tears of grief. Only I knew they were tears mourning the foolish, naive woman I had been in my previous life. "Stay strong, ma'am. You should begin making arrangements," the doctor said, his tone solemn. I nodded. "You're right. It's bad enough that he died in the hospital. Who knows what kind of bacteria might be lurking here? We should cremate him immediately. I want to see him burn to ashes with my own eyes." The room went silent. Everyone stared at me, stunned, but I noticed Ethan's body gave a sudden, sharp shudder. "Oh, where's that smirk you had earlier? Not so funny now, is it?" The doctor's expression turned uneasy. "Of course, cremation is the protocol, but I can handle the arrangements for you. You don't need to trouble yourself." I cut him off. "No, I insist. Actually, something feels off about all this." "How exactly did Ethan die?" The doctor hesitated, swallowing hard. It was a car accident. The brakes failed. He couldn't make the turn and drove straight into the river. He drowned." I stroked my chin thoughtfully. Interesting." Suddenly, I looked up, locking eyes with him. "Wait, you're saying the brakes failed?" The doctor flinched at my sudden question. "Why, yes, that's what happened." I pulled out my phone. "Then I'll have to call the police." He paled. "Why, our car gets regular maintenance. There's no way the brakes would fail unless—" The doctor's voice caught. "Unless what?" "Unless someone tampered with them on purpose." His nervousness was palpable. Though he tried to appear calm, his clenched fists betrayed his anxiety. Of course he was nervous. Ethan wasn't actually dead, but the doctor had declared him so. If I handed this over to the authorities, his career and reputation would be finished. As we stood locked in a tense standoff, a flamboyantly dressed woman suddenly burst into the room. She ran straight to Ethan's body, collapsing onto it in exaggerated despair. "Ethan, how could you leave us like this? What about the company? We're drowning in debt. Are we supposed to declare bankruptcy now?" Her words were directed at me, subtly implying that I, as Ethan's wife, should take responsibility for the company's financial woes. Not only had they stolen my $10 million, but now they had the audacity to expect me to settle their debts. This woman was Olivia, Ethan's secretary, and, as I recently discovered, his mistress of 3 years. She was also pregnant with his child. Clearly, she couldn't wait any longer, which is why she and Ethan concocted this whole scheme. I studied Olivia carefully. She clung to Ethan's body, wailing dramatically. "Well," she sobbed, "what's done is done. Let's let him rest in peace." As for the company's debts, I'm sure his wife will figure something out. I rolled my eyes so hard I nearly saw the back of my head. The medical staff and gathered relatives all looked at me with pity and sympathy. What the hell? A young nurse even tried to comfort Olivia. "Miss, the dead can't come back to life. Please stay strong." I let out a derisive laugh. "She's grieving? What a joke, she's my husband's mistress." The nurse abruptly let go of Olivia's hand, her expression shifting from shock to disdain as she stared at the woman. Olivia was momentarily stunned, not expecting her secret affair with Ethan to be uncovered by me. But after a brief moment of hesitation, she straightened her back and snapped. "Sophia, what nonsense are you spouting? Ethan and I are innocent. You can't just slander me because Ethan's death is unexplainable." As she spoke, she leaned over Ethan's body once again, sobbing uncontrollably. I didn't need to say anything. Everyone around us could already see through her flimsy cover. Her words spoke of innocence, but her behavior was undeniably suspicious and intimate. "If there's really nothing going on between you two, you should be addressing me as Mrs. Carter instead of calling me by my first name." I pulled out my phone and opened Olivia's social media feed. It was full of pictures showcasing luxury handbags and expensive outings at high-end venues. One or two posts even brazenly revealed Ethan's hand, wedding ring and all, in the background. "Still wondering why I'm calling you a mistress? This should make it crystal clear. How can a mere secretary, earning at most $4,000 a month, afford rent and still splurge on caviar, lobster, designer bags, and high-end shoes? Do you have the financial capability for that?" Olivia's face turned ashen, then flushed red as I spoke. The onlookers were stunned, some even taking my phone to examine her posts and analyzing them one by one. Whispers filled the room, and it was clear that everyone had already made up their minds. "I have every reason to suspect that you plan to seize Ethan's wealth and rise to power. When he refused, you sabotaged his car, leading to his untimely death." I picked up my phone and dialed 911 without hesitation. Ethan's doctor friend quickly rushed to stop me, snatching the phone from my hand and ending the call. "You're crazy, I don't believe she did this. But you don't need to blow things out of proportion and make Ethan restless in his grave," Olivia chimed in hurriedly. "Exactly, you're accusing me without proof. If I were after money, why would I kill Ethan? Wouldn't it be faster to take you out and rise to the top that way?" Realizing she'd said too much, Olivia clamped a hand over her mouth. I stepped back, startled, and pointed at her. "Everyone heard that, didn't they? She's even entertaining the thought of killing me. This is definitely a matter for the police." As Olivia scrambled to explain herself, I dialed 911 again. The doctor once again tried to grab my phone, but this time I wouldn't let him. "This scandal could ruin Ethan's company," he pleaded. "He cheated on me behind my back, and you think I care about his company?" I shot back. When the call connected, I spoke quickly and clearly. "Hello, I suspect my husband was murdered intentionally. There are people here trying to stop me from reporting it also. $1 million from my husband's account has disappeared. Please send someone over immediately." I gave the address of the hospital and hung up before Olivia or the doctor could say another word. "How could you do this?" Olivia screamed, her face contorted in despair. Even the doctor, who had just declared Ethan dead, stood frozen in shock, his mouth agape. "You're going to ruin Ethan's reputation exposing his affair like this. Do you think you'll come out of this any better?" "Even if I don't, I'll make sure none of you do either," I replied coldly. "At the very least, I'll get back the missing $1 million. Turning to Olivia, I sneered. "Stop pretending. You were the last person to see Ethan before the accident, weren't you? You were supposed to accompany him to meet a client. Why weren't you in the car with him? Did you see the $1 million transfer I made to Ethan's account and decide to act on your greed? Murder for money." Then I turned to the doctor. "And you, why are you so desperate to stop me? Ethan was your friend, his death is suspicious, and instead of investigating, you're siding with this mistress to block me. Are you involved in his death too?" The doctor was speechless. Olivia, on the other hand, shouted, "Lies, she's lying, I would never kill anyone." I cleared my throat and raised my voice. "After my father passed away, I brought my inheritance into this marriage with Ethan. And what did I get in return? A cheating husband and a missing $1 million. Now I'm left with nothing while he's gone, leaving me to clean up this mess, but I won't let it go just like that. No matter what, I'll uncover the truth behind his death." My voice cracked as tears streamed down my face, and I cried openly, my red-rimmed eyes adding a layer of authenticity to my performance. If the Oscars had been watching, they would have owed me a statuette. The crowd, moved by my emotions, began comforting me, urging me to stay strong and promising to support the investigation. Olivia was livid, her teeth grinding audibly as she clung to the doctor's sleeve, whispering frantically for help. Meanwhile, Ethan's supposedly lifeless fingers twitched slightly at his side. I covered my face with my hands to mask my smirk. "Oh, so you all love to put on a show. Well, two can play that game." The police arrived swiftly. Through tears, I recounted all of my suspicions, focusing on the inexplicable disappearance of the $1 million from Ethan's account. The officers' expressions grew serious as they prepared to take Ethan's body for an autopsy, but the doctor stepped in to block them, looking visibly panicked. "What's the matter?" one of the officers asked, frowning. The doctor glanced at Olivia, who shook her head violently in response. But despite his attempts to intervene, he couldn't form a coherent sentence, stammering uselessly. "If there's nothing, step aside. Don't obstruct our investigation." Just as the body was about to be wheeled away, Olivia stumbled forward, firmly pressing down on the rolling hospital bed. "You can't do an autopsy. Ethan's body mustn't be tampered with," the police officer frowned. "And who are you?" "The family has already agreed to let the medical examiner intervene. We have to investigate." I spoke up at the right moment. "She's my husband's mistress. Before the accident, my husband was with her, but in the end, he was the only one left in the car." The officer got the hint and motioned for two officers to take Olivia away. "Let me see who dares to lay a hand on my son." A sharp, grating voice rang out as two elderly figures rushed in. Ethan's mother stormed up, yelling at me while blocking the officers. "I don't agree to you police interfering. My son's body must be buried intact. That's the only way for it to be auspicious." As she spoke, Ethan's mother glared at me with her beady black eyes. "You wretched woman, how dare you decide to let them cut into my son's body? Do you want him to be restless even in death?" Seeing both parents objecting to the autopsy, the police found themselves in a bind. The officer looked at me, and then the doctor came running out. "We've already examined him. The cause of death is drowning. There's no other suspicious evidence." The officers exchanged glances and turned back to me. "All right, since the deceased's parents don't agree, we'll put the autopsy on hold for now. But the investigation must continue. You mentioned your husband's car had been tampered with, correct?" I nodded emphatically. "And there's also the $1 million a month ago. My husband secretly took my phone and transferred $1 million from my account to his. I only discovered it yesterday. I saw with my own eyes that his account had $1 million, but today, there's not a single cent left. I really suspect someone killed him for the money." I was crying, but my explanation remained clear and coherent. Ethan's parents, however, wouldn't have it. Ethan's mother cursed me and lunged at me. "You're full of nonsense, officers. She's lying that $1 million was a gift from her to my son, completely voluntary. How could it be theft? Sophia, do you have any evidence?" Her words gave me a spark of determination. Not proving innocence is the key to winning, so I fired back, "Do you have any evidence?" "Evidence that it was a voluntary gift. Marrying into your family has been the worst luck of my life. Your son cheated on me during our marriage, stole the $1 million my father left me, and now I'm stuck with the company's debts. Are the Ethan family trying to ruin me completely?" I quickly grabbed my phone and showed one of the officers. "Look here, my transfer record. It happened at 2 a.m. I was already asleep by then, but my husband knew all my passwords. Besides, I never gave any verbal or written consent for a gift." Seeing that I was completely isolated, a female officer decisively sided with me and reassured me, "Don't worry, we'll investigate thoroughly. Don't be afraid. Once the truth is clear, the money can be recovered." Hearing that the money could be recovered, my father-in-law suddenly let out a groan and collapsed. The female officer, observing the scene, remarked thoughtfully, "It seems the deceased's family knows more about this situation than they're letting on." I started crying even harder. "All right," the officer said. "Since the family can't come to an agreement, the body will have to be preserved. Until the truth is uncovered, no one is allowed to move or handle the body in any way." The officer looked at me, and I reluctantly agreed with a nod. The doctor, hearing this, quickly chimed in. Then the body should stay here with us. The hospital morgue is the best place for preservation, and we can assist with the investigation whenever needed. I shook my head, feigning sincerity. Better to take it to the police station's autopsy room. It'll be more convenient if further clues require an autopsy later. The officer nodded, ignoring the protests of the others, and wheeled Ethan's body away. The doctor stood frozen in place, left in disbelief. After the police left, I and Olivia were taken in for questioning. Before leaving, I glanced at the doctor. Why are you so reluctant? The police station has freezers too. Keeping the body there for a few days won't be a problem. The doctor rolled his eyes and fainted on the spot. Oh heavens, a few days in a freezer? Ethan would truly be gone for good then. After the questioning, the officers who went to inspect Ethan's car returned. The brakes weren't tampered with. Everything checks out fine. The officers exchanged puzzled looks. So, it was just an accident? I quickly raised my hand to object. The doctor told me he was certain the brakes had an issue. A sharp-witted officer caught on. Wait, he's just a doctor. How would he know about car mechanics? I shook my head, pretending to be frightened. The officer who had inspected the car added, although the car seems fine, this case is indeed quite odd. What do you mean? The accident occurred at a bend on Ridgeway Highway. While there's a curve, the road is wide, and no cars have ever crashed there before. Even if the driver was inexperienced and ended up in the river, the car would surely have some scratches. But after a thorough inspection, we didn't find a single mark. Do you know what that means? Everyone shook their heads. The police officer continued, there are two possibilities. 1, the deceased drove straight into the river. 2, the deceased was already dead before the car went into the river, and the killer staged the scene by tying him in the car and pushing it into the river. The older detective furrowed his brows in thought. If that's the case, that doctor becomes highly suspicious. We need to detain him and have the coroner conduct an autopsy to uncover more details about the case. I nodded repeatedly. I've always supported conducting an autopsy. The detective nodded back at me. That makes things much easier. Since there are suspicions, even if only one family member consents, we can proceed with signing the autopsy authorization. Well then, let's get started. It wasn't until the coroner had everything ready for the autopsy that I leisurely picked up the phone to inform Ethan's parents. Oh, father, mother, my bad. I completely forgot to tell you. The police have determined that your son was murdered, so they need to perform an autopsy to find the true cause of his death. You vile woman, how dare you stop them immediately if they so much as cut a single piece of my son's flesh? I'll kill you myself. Holding my phone, I looked over at the female officer with a nonchalant expression. That counts as a threat, right? The female officer nodded, then took my phone and sternly warned my in-laws for a few moments. I didn't even need to look to know how furious my mother-in-law must have been. It felt so satisfying. When everyone had gathered, I stood outside the room, watching as Ethan's lifeless, naked body lay on the table. Not even a pair of underwear was left on him as he was scrutinized by a crowd. I couldn't help but laugh internally. Marks were drawn on Ethan's body, tracing the Y-shaped incision pattern. Just looking at it made me wince. Tusk. But even though everything had started, the coroner's brows remained tightly furrowed, and he hesitated to make the first incision. Ethan must have been panicking to death. When the coroner's cold, gloved hand touched Ethan's chest and pressed down gently, I could clearly see his body twitch ever so slightly. I nearly burst out laughing and had to cover my mouth to hold it in. The female officer beside me thought I was worried and kindly tried to comfort me. Oh, sister, once I get my $1 million back, I'll definitely treat you to dinner. The coroner must have noticed something was off. Through the glass door, I could see him yank off his mask in frustration. His assistant, clearly just as exasperated, stormed over and flung the door open with force. What on earth is going on? He's faking his death. What? Feigning shock, I widened my eyes dramatically. But the doctor confirmed his death. He even offered to help me cremate my husband. What? Everyone froze in astonishment at my words. The nearest officer's expression darkened as he stared at me. Are you saying the doctor offered to personally handle Ethan's cremation? I nodded earnestly, unwilling to lie. Yes, at the time, I didn't know what was going on. He said he'd take my husband to the crematorium himself so I wouldn't have to make the extra trip. Oh, right, his name is Marcus. He's my husband's close friend. Close friend? The officer's shock deepened. What a well-hidden secret. He's definitely a suspect. While everyone was speculating, the older detective turned to the coroner's assistant with a grave expression. Can the person inside wake up now? The assistant looked exasperated and once again flung the door open, shouting at the coroner inside. Boss, the next moment, the coroner picked up a scalpel, poised to make the incision on Ethan's chest. As soon as the blade touched his skin, Ethan, who had been pretending to be dead for 2 days, suddenly sat up with a blood-curdling scream. Ah, no, stop. The scene was so absurd that Olivia, who had accompanied us, lowered her head in embarrassment, clearly at a loss. Feigning disbelief, I exclaimed, "Oh, wow." The room fell into an awkward silence. In all his years on the force, the older detective had never encountered such a situation. It was a waste of emotions and police resources. I recovered quickly, rushing over to throw my arms around my resurrected husband, sobbing dramatically. Ethan, you're alive. You scared me to death. If you'd really died, what would have happened to the company's debts and my $1 million? Ethan awkwardly pushed me off. Let go, I'm fine. As soon as he shook off my hands, though, it was the police's turn to apprehend him. The stern, intimidating senior detective approached and glared at Ethan. Do you realize that what you've done is a crime? Ethan trembled in fear and stammered, I didn't know, I just woke up. Wait, are you saying everyone thought I was dead? The detective and I exchanged skeptical glances. I pressed Ethan, if you're alive, why did you and your car end up in the river? Why did the $1 million in your account vanish? Who did you meet before everything happened? I refused to let the matter drop, but Ethan stammered and failed to answer. His eyes darted toward Olivia, who was standing in the distance, as if pleading for her help. I smirked coldly to myself. Don't worry, I said. The police are already on Marcus's trail. He's on the run now, but it's only a matter of time before they catch him. When they do, the truth will come out. That's enough. I survived a life-threatening event, yet all you ever talk about is that $10 million. What do you want? Do I even matter to you? Ethan suddenly yanked his hand away from mine, shouting furiously. A female officer stepped in front of me, blocking Ethan. Why are you yelling? She snapped. Ethan immediately deflated, his anger subsiding. Eventually, with a flushed face, Ethan told the officer he wanted to drop the case, but she refused. Whether you want to let it go is your business, but uncovering the truth is ours. As for the $10 million missing from the account, we'll continue the investigation. That $10 million is shared marital property. If it's gone, it's gone. I don't want it back, okay? That's my choice, Ethan shouted, clearly at his breaking point. Watching him unravel, I nodded silently and asked the officer from behind, if I file for divorce and present evidence of Ethan's infidelity, can I recover my share of the $10 million? The officer gave me a look of approval mixed with a tinge of sympathy. Of course. Even if you don't present proof of his affair, that $10 million is still yours. I turned to Ethan with a smile. Fine, let's get a divorce. Ethan froze, then quickly became enraged. What nonsense are you spouting? When did I ever cheat? Don't you dare slander me. You know the truth as well as I do. And as for me, I've got the evidence. If you don't agree, we'll see each other in court. With a loud slap, Ethan struck me hard, sending me to the floor. I could have dodged it, but I didn't. It hurts so much, officer. Help me, my head feels dizzy. Do I have a concussion? Ethan was stunned, as was the officer. She quickly restrained Ethan while the female officer escorted me to the hospital. And just like that, not only did I take Ethan to court, but I also managed to squeeze a bit more money out of him. However, I never anticipated how shameless Ethan's family could be. To stop me from divorcing Ethan and claiming the $10 million, my father-in-law, mother-in-law, and even Mistress Olivia teamed up to cause a ruckus at the hospital. The door to my hospital room slammed open from the force. Instinctively, I hid my phone, leaving only the camera lens peeking out. I had already started a secret live stream. My mother-in-law stormed toward me, clearly intending to hit me, but hesitated at the thought of her son already being in trouble. You little hussy, how dare you try to divorce my son? Have you forgotten who fed and clothed you after your father died? At this point, there was no reason to hold back. I retorted directly, you dare bring up my father. Over the years, it wasn't you taking care of me, it was me taking care of all of you. Your entire family is nothing but a pack of parasites. Why wouldn't I dare divorce him? I absolutely will. Then, I pointed at Olivia's belly. And isn't divorce the best outcome? That way, your precious grandson can finally be legitimate. Turning to Olivia, I added, Olivia, hasn't my husband spent enough money on you over the years? I'll give you the title you want, but every penny you've taken from me, I want it all back. Olivia's face turned ghostly pale. In the end, my father-in-law couldn't hold back. He raised his cane and swung it at me. You will not divorce if you dare to ask for that 10 million back or refuse to take on the company's debts. I'll kill you myself, do you hear me? The cane came down hard on my shoulder, though it was aimed at my head. I dodged at the last second and then pretended to faint. I didn't need to call the police. The livestream audience would ensure justice was served. My father-in-law and mother-in-law were detained, and the female officer visited my hospital room, looking at me with concern. Everything about this mess is all over the internet now. Even if you didn't have evidence of your husband's affair, you'll definitely get the divorce. I gave her a weak smile. From the very beginning, my goal wasn't to let them off. What I want is my father's inheritance and every penny they've taken from me over the years. I want it all back. But wasn't the 10 million stolen by Marcus? We still haven't caught him, and there's no guarantee we'll recover the money. I shook my head. Marcus was just part of the plan. I'm pretty sure the 10 million is still with Ethan. His original scheme was to fake his death, transfer the money, and leave me with the company and its debts while he ran off abroad with his mistress. Does that sound believable to you? The officer thought for a moment before nodding. Based on the evidence we have, what you're saying matches the facts and seems very plausible. But we'll need further investigation to confirm it, she added. I narrowed my eyes. Marcus hasn't gone far. Since he didn't get his share of the money, he'll definitely stick to Olivia and Ethan like glue. All I have to do is wait, and he'll show up. After being discharged, I contacted multiple media outlets to keep the pressure on, leaving Ethan no room to breathe. I imagine he must miss the peace and quiet he enjoyed while pretending to be dead. On the day Ethan's company officially declared bankruptcy, I tracked down Olivia's hideout. It turned out Ethan had put her up in one of my properties, a house that had been part of my premarital assets. After we got married, the house had been left vacant. I never expected him to utilize it so thoroughly. It was almost impressive how resourceful he was. Fueled by anger, I called a moving company, gathered a team, and marched straight to Olivia's little nest. They'd even changed the locks to keep me out, but no matter, I was prepared to break in. The locksmith worked efficiently, and as expected, Olivia wasn't home when we entered. She was probably busy crying her eyes out in front of Ethan to make her presence known. Without hesitation, I gave the order. Move it. The movers looked at me and asked, everything? Yes, everything. I paid for it all, and I'm not leaving a single thing behind for the mistress, not even a strand of hair. Hearing the word mistress, the movers visibly perked up. They threw themselves into the task with enthusiasm, even eyeing the chandelier in the living room as if they wanted to take that down too. One of them hesitated by the couch. Should we take this one? It's heavy and kind of strange. I glanced at the couch. It didn't seem familiar, probably not something I bought. But who cared? This was my house, and anything in it was under my control. Even if a mosquito flew in, it would take my name. I waved my hand decisively. Move it, I said. Not even a strand of hair stays for the mistress. The mover hesitated again. Miss, I'm serious, it's really strange. Come over and smell it. Isn't there a foul stench? A chill ran through me. I walked over to inspect it, and the moment the smell hit me, I doubled over and vomited. Call the police, I shouted. Good news, we found Marcus. Bad news, Marcus had turned into a couch. By the time the police arrived, my face was as white as a sheet. The movers, disobeying my earlier orders, had let their curiosity get the better of them. They'd taken apart the couch, and with just one look, several of them ran to the bathroom to throw up. We'd been searching for Marcus for so long, only to discover he'd been murdered and stuffed into the base of the couch. His body was twisted in a grotesque position, and with the rising summer heat, the decomposition had turned the smell unbearable, with maggots crawling everywhere. When the police arrived, they didn't expect me to be involved yet again. This is my house, I protested, but Ethan was using it to keep his mistress. I only found out today, so I brought movers over to clear everything out and kick them out. But Olivia wasn't here, and all that was left was this stinking couch. We opened it, and bam, Marcus's body stuffed right inside. The older detective gave me a look, then exchanged a glance with the female officer. Looks like your theory was right. What theory? Of course, it was my theory. Thankfully, I had multiple witnesses, and the entire moving process had been recorded on video. Otherwise, it would have been hard to explain myself. But the body's here, the detective said. We still don't have enough evidence to determine who killed him. Before he could finish his sentence, a younger officer called out. Sir, we found something. As Marcus's body was carried out, the coroner rolled their eyes and pulled a bloodstained note from Marcus's pants pocket. The older detective took the note, and his expression grew darker as he read it. What does it say? The female officer asked. He handed her the note and turned his gaze to me. It matches your story exactly. I looked him straight in the eye and offered a bitter smile. It was just a guess. At that moment, a voice came from the doorway, Olivia's. She sounded panicked. Ethan, aren't you scared? The police are onto us if they find out you faked your death just to pocket Sophia's $1 million. You're definitely going to prison, Ethan sneered. What about you? Haven't you done illegal things? Didn't you kill Marcus when he came to you asking for money? Let me tell you, Olivia, it's all or nothing. Either you stick with me and we finish this kill Sophia before the divorce is finalized and take her inheritance, or you run now. But if you run, I'll make sure you're the first one I take down. We're past the point of no return, Olivia. I've lived through tough times, and I'm not going back to that life. You have to help me. Tonight, we'll lure Sophia out. Their conversation abruptly stopped because they realized their front door was wide open. And then a dozen pairs of police eyes were staring directly at them. Ethan turned to look at me, guilt written all over his face. Suddenly, he shoved Olivia toward the police and bolted. After him, poor Olivia. She was discarded so easily, used as nothing more than a distraction for Ethan's escape. The female officer, the coroner, and a young officer stayed behind. I watched as Olivia collapsed to the floor, blood running down her legs. I could be cold, but the police couldn't. They quickly pulled me along as they rushed Olivia to the hospital. In the end, Olivia lost the baby. Overnight, she lost her mind as well. But honestly, she didn't love that child all that much. She simply knew she had lost her chance at living a life of luxury, and she couldn't accept it. As for Ethan, he didn't get far. While fleeing, he ran into traffic and was hit by a car. He lost both of his legs. In the final court case, I won as expected. Not only did I get my $1 million back, but Ethan was left completely broke down to his underwear. It turned out Marcus had threatened Olivia for money while Ethan wasn't around, and she killed him in self-defense. Olivia was sentenced to life in prison, doomed to die behind bars. Ethan, meanwhile, got off with only a few years and a suspended sentence. Because I had nothing left, I was placed under special protection by the police. Ethan, unable to repay his debts, jumped from a high-rise building in the second year after the lawsuit concluded, leaving behind nothing but a mangled body. When Ethan's parents heard the news, his father immediately suffered a severe health episode. But this time, there was no saving him. That left only my mother-in-law. The unpaid debts fell squarely on the shoulders of the poor old woman. She even came to me, crying and begging for help. But by then, I was already traveling abroad, living my best life. Who cared anymore? My new life starting from that moment was something I had won back for myself. End of the first story. Subscribe to my channel if you like my stories. Don't miss the second exciting story. Story 2. After the fake heiress death, the real heiress went on a rampage. I am Lily, the true heiress of the Song family. My sister, Rosie, is the fake heiress, but she's the only one in the Song family who treated me well. She used to say I was the heroine of this world, the woman standing at the very top. And she claimed to be the fairy sent from above to protect me. Like in a fairy tale, the fairy helped the true heiress take control of the Song family and find her true love. In the story's finale, the fairy didn't return to the heavens, but stayed behind in this world, falling in love with an ordinary man. But when I rushed back from abroad one night, what greeted me was her shattered, unrecognizable body. I'm sorry, Lily, I can't protect you anymore. In the surveillance footage, Rosie, pale-faced, said her final words before turning and leaping off a high-rise building. Without a moment's hesitation, she jumped with a determination that left no room for survival. The scene in the video was horrific, and my anger matched it tenfold. She cared so much about her appearance. When we were kids, I once doodled on her face with markers, and she sulked for days. A fairy must always be perfect and beautiful, no matter what. Yet she chose such an undignified way to die. Although I always knew, she wasn't really a fairy. She was a time traveler, someone who came into this world solely for me. She was my redemption, my little sun that dispelled the darkness within me. But now, she's gone. As I walked toward her memorial hall, the darkness I had long buried inside began to rise again. Leo, don't be too sad. If Rosie's spirit is watching over us, she'd surely want you to be happy, a gentle voice said as I stopped at the entrance of the hall. In front of Rosie's portrait stood the man she loved, Leo, beside a woman in a white dress with delicate makeup. The woman held the hand of a boy, around 4 or 5 years old. The boy pouted as he looked at the coffin from afar. It's all that crazy lady's fault for dying. Now Daddy and Aunt Luna can't take me to the amusement park. I saw the woman smile faintly, kneeling to embrace the boy. Zach, be good. Daddy and I will take you in a couple of days. Watching this scene, I finally understood why my Rosie had chosen death so resolutely. I strode into the memorial hall. Not even buried yet, and already rushing to play the third wheel, aren't you? The woman turned to me with a smile and walked over. Lily, you're here, I sneered, meeting her gaze directly. And who do you think you are to call me that? With that, I slapped her across the face. Mom Zach rushed over, raising his hand to hit me, but one sharp look from me froze him in his tracks. He didn't dare move closer. Meanwhile, his father, Leo, just stood there blankly, staring at Rosie's portrait as if he hadn't even noticed my arrival. Luna covered her face, a contrite smile appearing as she bowed to me. I'm sorry, Miss Song. I was classmates with both your sister and your brother-in-law. We were close, so I thought perhaps I was being impolite. This woman had some nerve. Feigning innocence, apologizing preemptively, it made her look like the victim while painting me, Lily, CEO of the Song Corporation, as a bully throwing her weight around. My Rosie, kind and sincere, could never have stood a chance against someone like her. I had heard rumors before that Leo had a first love from his youth, a woman he could never have. Now, seeing her in person, I realized the rumors didn't do her justice. Luna, you're here too, a voice called out from behind me. My husband, Ethan, had rushed over and was now walking quickly toward her. As if forgetting my presence, he grabbed Luna's hand without hesitation. Luna, what happened to your face? Who hit you? Tell me and I swear I won't let them off. I nearly laughed out loud. I had almost forgotten Ethan and Leo were best friends, and Luna, she was Ethan's first love too. Suddenly, Luna seemed emboldened. She raised her eyes to meet mine. I must have said something wrong and upset Lily, she said softly. Ethan turned to look at me, his face pale. He quickly let go of Luna's hand. Lily, I cut him off with a cold glance and waved my hand. The bodyguards behind me stepped forward. In front of Ethan, they slapped Luna again. The delicate Luna tumbled to the ground, her face now a picture of pitiful beauty. What's wrong with you, Lily? Are you out of your mind? Ethan yelled, completely losing his composure. I found it laughable and didn't even bother responding as I walked past him. Ethan tried to follow, but the bodyguards held him back. I strode forward, stepping on Luna's white dress and lifting her chin with my hand. You never learn, do you? I have only one sister and her name is Rosie. Don't think you can worm your way into the Song family. You're just a mistress, nothing more. Before Luna could respond, Ethan spoke up from behind me. Lily, must you use such harsh words? I turned to him with a mocking smile. Ethan, do you like her too? Just say the word and I'll let you have her. Ethan's face turned ashen. He stammered, Honey, I swear to God, I only love you. Satisfied, I turned back to Luna. She reached out, trying to grab my hand, and I noticed the rose-shaped diamond ring on her finger. It was the same ring Leo had designed himself and begged me to have a master jeweler craft. I had personally visited the jeweler several times, pleading with him before he finally agreed to make it. He said it was an anniversary gift for Rose, but now it was on Luna's hand. Furious, I yanked the diamond ring off her finger with such force that I left 2 crimson scratches on her hand. Sorry, seeing my sister's keepsake made me a little emotional, I said coldly. Luna merely cradled her bleeding hand against her chest, her tear-filled eyes shimmering as she bit her lip in silence. That look on her face, never mind Leo, even Rosie would have felt sorry for her. Rosie had always been soft like that. Whenever I told her about the times I was bullied, she'd weep uncontrollably, as if she were the one who had been hurt instead of me. But her kindness had never been a reason for her to be mistreated. Seeing the wounds on Luna's hand, Zach was the first to react. He rushed over to stand protectively in front of her, blowing gently on her hand as if that would ease the pain. "It's okay, Zach, it doesn't hurt," Luna said softly, but Zach only grew angrier. He turned toward me, glaring fiercely. "This pretty ring was a gift for Luna," he snapped. "That crazy woman's hands are rough and ugly, they don't deserve it. Luna's hands are so beautiful, and that crazy woman even agreed to give it to her. Who do you think you are, bullying Luna?" I watched the heartwarming scene of motherly love and filial piety before me with cold, distant eyes. If it weren't for Rose, I wouldn't have spared the Lee family a second glance. When Zach tried to rush at me, I slapped him cleanly and efficiently, sending him sprawling to the ground. Smack! The crisp sound of the slap echoed through the room, stunning everyone into silence. Nobody had expected me to actually hit a child so mercilessly. "You," I said, my voice icy, "have no right to associate yourself with my sister. Understand? If you dare make another move, I'll make sure you die 100 times worse than she did." Zach was too scared to cry. He simply stared at me in terror as I walked toward the coffin in the center of the funeral hall. "I'm taking my sister away from this filthy place," I said, my voice firm, "away from these despicable people. Just like years ago, when she took me away from that hellhole of a rented room. I was the real daughter of the Song family, who had been lost and forgot. Before the age of 9, I lived with a gambling addict in a cramped, foul-smelling apartment. I was always hungry, and I barely survived several winters where the cold nearly killed me. Whenever the gambler lost money, he'd come home drunk and take out his anger on me with punches and kicks. Every day, I waited for a chance to kill him, and finally, that day came. But just as I raised the kitchen knife, ready to strike, Rose appeared. She wore a beautiful princess dress and pushed open the door to the apartment. For the first time, light flooded into that dark, suffocating room. She rushed in, snatched the knife from my hands, and hugged me tightly, despite how filthy and foul-smelling I was. My biological parents, on the other hand, stood far outside the door, covering their noses and frowning in disgust, as if I were nothing more than unwanted garbage. After they took me back to the Song family, they left almost immediately. To them, I seemed to be nothing more than an insignificant burden, but Rose cried for an entire day. She cried over my frail body, my scars, and the miserable life I'd endured. It was annoying, and yet strangely, I didn't mind. That night, as thunder rumbled outside, she crept into my room, clutching a blanket. "I'm scared," she said. "You have to protect me tonight." She climbed into my bed, patting my back like a mother soothing her child. I held her close. "Aren't you afraid of me?" "Why would I be afraid? You're my sister." I was ready to kill someone. "The day you came, I almost killed that gambler." "You can't do that again," she said firmly. "When you meet terrible people, you leave. Don't let them drag you down with them." On my first day of school, some girls mocked me, even posting photos of me battered and bloodied from the abuse I'd endured in that apartment. The memories made me snap. I grabbed a chair and beat them until they were as bloodied as I had been in those photos. When my biological parents arrived, they slapped me twice and demanded I apologize to those girls. I refused, glaring at them silently. My father, enraged, grabbed a glass paperweight from the principal's desk. "Lily, if I'd known you'd turn out this way, I'd have let you die in that place," he spat. But Rose stepped between us, taking the blow meant for me. The paperweight shattered, and she shielded me with her body. "My sister did nothing wrong," she said, her voice steady. "They started it." She held up her phone, playing the classroom surveillance footage. The video showed the girls shoving me to the ground, slamming my humiliating photos into my face, and hurling cruel insults at me. "They're the ones who owe my sister an apology," Rose declared. Because the families involved had business ties, my father smoothed things over. The matter was swept under the rug. Later, Rose held me and cried again, angry at the injustice. "Why are you so good to me?" I asked her. She smiled through her tears. Because the heavens saw how much you'd suffered and sent a beautiful, kind fairy like me to protect you. Aren't you afraid I'll hurt you like I hurt them? Not at all, she said with a grin. Fairies don't feel pain. She told me I'd grow up to be the happiest, most successful person. She promised to protect me, to shield me from all the bad people and bad things in the world. And she kept that promise. She always showed up at the right time, paving the way for me to become the CEO of the Song Corporation. With her help, I became someone others had to tiptoe around. I even married Ethan, who loves and spoils me wholeheartedly. My mission is complete. It's time for me to leave. But she stayed for Leo. Whenever she looked at Leo, a sweet smile would grace her face. I was happy, after all, I wanted her to stay. But I was also worried because I had heard too many stories about Leo and Luna during school. Don't worry, he told me he'll only ever love me. But what if Luna comes back and he falls for her again? I trust Leo. Leo also repeatedly assured me, I will only love Rose in this lifetime. I will never betray her. If I do, may I meet a horrible end. The joy she felt with Leo was as deep as her despair when she left him. Suddenly, a loud shout yanked me out of my memories. I won't allow it, how dare you try to take Ro away. Leo finally came to his senses when he saw that I was about to take Rosie away. His eyes were bloodshot as he shoved the bodyguards aside and stood in front of the casket. She is my wife. She will always be my wife. No one can take her from me. The bodyguards knew he was Ethan's close friend and didn't dare to act against him. They wouldn't, but I would. I pulled a knife from my bag and walked straight toward Leo. As I thrust the knife forward, Luna leapt in front of him. The blade plunged into her palm, and blood instantly gushed out. Lily, you lunatic, behind me, Ethan shoved me forcefully. I lost my balance and crashed into the corner of a table. Through the haze, I saw Ethan cradling Luna in his arms, urgently calling for the bodyguards to summon a doctor. How ironic. When I woke up in the hospital, Ethan wasn't by my side. Following the bodyguard to Luna's hospital room, I saw 3 men, 2 adults, and 1 child hovering around her. Lily just couldn't accept it in the moment. Once she wakes up, I'll have her apologize to you. It was my husband speaking, the man who professed to love me. Lou, it's all my fault. I'm sorry, he said, apologizing while feeding her porridge. And you, Zach, why would you let Lou attend Rose's funeral of all places? I didn't think that much, Ethan. How could you not keep an eye on Rose? Look at the mess this has caused. Ethan, Lou and I are innocent. I don't know why Rose would. Innocent? Do you think I didn't see the photos of the 2 of you naked in bed that were sent to Rose's phone? If I hadn't intercepted and deleted them, do you think you'd still be standing here right now? Thank you, Ethan. If it weren't for Lou, I wouldn't have bothered. Standing outside the room, I heard every word clearly. My nails dug into my palms. I'm sorry. It's all because of me. I've caused you all so much trouble, Luna whimpered. Lou, it's not your fault. You don't need to blame yourself. Lily is still furious. Ethan, what will you do? She loves me. I'll just coax her. I had never imagined that Ethan knew everything from the start. Since that's the case, I no longer had any reservations. I'll show you what true madness looks like. I'll make sure all of you pay. Through the hospital room window, I saw them sharing a smile. Of course they were so in love, while my sister Rose lay cold and lifeless in a casket, abandoned and despairing. Not a chance. I won't let this slide. I turned and headed back to my hospital room. It wasn't long before Ethan returned. A smile was plastered on his face, as if nothing had happened. I brought your favorite seafood porridge. Still warm, he opened the lid and tried to feed me. I smiled at him, then lifted the porridge and dumped it all over him. Lily, do you even realize how ridiculous you're acting right now? He shouted. I'm allergic to seafood. Who's the one that loves seafood porridge? He froze, his anger dissipating instantly. I'm sorry, Lily. I was in such a rush that I forgot. I said nothing. Lily, it's over now. Rosie is gone. Stop making a scene. Leo is already in so much pain. If you take Rose's body away, he won't be able to go on living. I sneered. That scumbag not being able to go on would be a blessing. He should just drop dead immediately. Besides, hasn't he already found someone else? Seeing the mocking smile on my face, Ethan visibly panicked. They're innocent. I swear, I looked at Ethan and couldn't help but laugh. I won't let this go. And I'll make sure that woman doesn't get away with it either. Ethan's voice rose sharply. No way. If you like her so much, let's just get a divorce. I'll let you have her. Lily, how could you doubt my feelings for you? Luna and I are just classmates. Stop being so unreasonable. Unreasonable? Ethan seemed to realize he'd misspoken and quickly tried to placate me. Your sister took her own life. For the sake of little Zach, her only child, who's already lost his mother, can't you just let it go? Fine, really? Of course not. I smiled, and Ethan couldn't quite figure out what was on my mind. I won't let them get away with this. Don't even think about it. Who do you think you are? Get lost. The bodyguards rushed in and dragged Ethan away. I ordered the guards to keep watch over Rosie's memorial, forbidding anyone from paying respects, especially Leo's family. Leo was shouting at the doorstep. Rose belongs to the Song family now. She has nothing to do with you anymore. No, she's still my wife, my one and only wife in this lifetime. I didn't care what he was saying. Instead, I called for a team of bodyguards and a demolition crew to head straight to Leo's mansion. The housekeeper there had long been fed up with Leo and his father's actions. I simply asked her to bring out everything that Rose had bought. Without hesitation, she led the guards to haul out every single item from the villa. The dress that woman is wearing, the necklace and earrings on her, were all bought by Miss Song, the housekeeper declared. I coldly eyed the woman standing behind Luna. With a gesture, I signaled the guards to bring her over. One swift kick to her knees sent her collapsing to the ground. Without hesitation, I grabbed the necklace from around her neck. She reached out to snatch it back. Lee gave this to me, it's mine. I ignored her, yanking the earrings from her ears. Luna let out a pained cry, blood trickling from her ears. This is the price for stealing from others. Take the dress off her too, I ordered. The housekeeper immediately moved to strip Luna, but Ethan rushed over, shielding her with his body. Lily, don't go too far. And where were you when they teamed up to drive my sister to her death? Did you think they went too far then? Enough, look at yourself, now you're no better than a lunatic. You're absolutely right, I am a lunatic. I stepped forward, grabbed Luna, and began pulling at her dress with my own hands. Luna, what was she to deserve wearing Rose's clothes? But the moment my hands touched Luna, Ethan grabbed my wrist tightly. His anger boiled over and he slapped me across the face. I calmly turned my head to look at him. He averted his gaze, clearly uneasy. Lily, what happened to you? You used to be so kind, how did you become so cruel? I threw my head back and laughed. With one swift motion, I slapped Ethan hard enough to make his face turn. You're the last person who gets to lecture me. Ethan stared at me in disbelief, as if seeing someone he no longer recognized. Luna clutched her chest, whining pitifully. Lee, Ethan, save me, the bodyguards surrounded the two of them. I stripped Luna of her dress and threw it into the pile of clothes in the yard. Lily, I never expected you to be such a ruthless woman, Ethan said as he draped his jacket over Luna to protect her. I didn't care about his words. I pulled out a lighter. Leo instantly realized what I was about to do and charged forward like a madman to stop me. Stop, Lily. Stop it. Rose told me she wasn't of this world. She's not dead. She's just mad at me. She loves me. She'll come back to me. She's only throwing a tantrum like she's done before. His eyes were bloodshot, tears streaming down his face. But his words only fueled my fury. Rose had shared her secret with him, and now he felt untouchable. She was dead, and now he wanted to play the victim. I tossed the lighter into the pile of clothes and furniture, and flames roared to life. Leo's eyes nearly popped out of his head as he struggled to retrieve something from the fire. I stepped in front of him, grabbed his hair, and forced him to look at me. Leo, do you remember the promises you made? Leo's body trembled, his face pale. You said you'd only love Rose in this lifetime. You swore you'd never betray her. If you broke that vow, you'd die a miserable death. He collapsed to the ground as I let go of his hair. Do it, I commanded. Tear this place down. The demolition crew began their work, the sound of machinery filling the air. Luna screamed. Lily, fine, the things here were bought by your sister, but what gives you the right to demolish Lee's house? I sneered at her. Because I bought this villa. Luna staggered back 2 steps, then desperately clung to Ethan's sleeve. She thought I'd be jealous, that I'd lose my mind, but I couldn't care less. At that moment, the mansion collapsed into a pile of rubble just like the state of my heart. Aunt Lily is a bad person, Zach wailed, sitting on the ground crying. I beckoned to him, Zach, come here. Zach is Rose's and my child. Take it out on me if you want, but don't even think about hurting him, Leo said, clutching Zach protectively. Perhaps he had finally realized the depths of my madness. He feared I'd even harm Rose's bloodline. Zach, how about I help your dad and Luna get married? Would you like that? Luna's eyes lit up. She hadn't expected me to not only stand aside, but even offer to help. It's impossible. I'll only ever have one wife in this lifetime, and that's Rose. I'll never marry anyone else, Leo shouted, but Zach immediately agreed. Sure, I want Luna to be my mom. Leo roared in anger. Zach, your mom is Rose and Rose alone, Zach glared at Leo. You're a bad dad. I want Luna to be my mom. Didn't you say that crazy woman smells like grease and is ugly and annoying, not pretty like Luna? I don't care. I want Luna to be my mom, not that nagging, ugly woman. With that, Zach shoved Leo aside and grabbed Luna's hand. Luna, can you be my mom, please? Luna was eager but hesitated because I was there. She didn't dare to agree right away. I smirked and looked at Ethan. This is the innocent situation you were talking about. Ethan finally snapped out of it and immediately let go of Luna. Honey, I'm sorry. I had no idea Leo was this kind of person. He raged, pointing at Leo and cursing him. Leo, after all these years of friendship, I can't believe you deceived even me. And you, Luna, I treated you like an old friend, spoke up for you, and even hurt the woman who loves me the most because of you. I watched him put on his little act with cold indifference. I didn't have the energy to expose him. Go ahead and get married. I wish you a lifetime of happiness. Zach, from now on, you're Luna's kid. Don't ever mention Rosie again. I hate that old hag. Good. Very good. Ethan spent every day groveling like a dog. Honey, I was deceived by them. I'm sorry. Please don't stay mad at me, okay? Honey, here's your favorite sweet and sour ribs. Come try them. Honey, I love you so much. You love me too, right? I tilted my head up to look at him. Of course, so don't make me angry, understand? Making you happy is my top priority. Why would I ever make you mad? I brought Rosie's ashes home. Leo came by several times to plead with me, but I never let him in. The last time, he knelt at my doorstep, with Luna standing beside him. She flaunted the diamond ring on her finger triumphantly, as if she had won. I had the security guards throw them both out. I didn't know what kind of tricks Luna pulled to get Leo to agree to marry her, but it suited me just fine. Luna wanted to marry into wealth and live the high life, even if it cost her everything. How could I let her get what she wanted? Back when Leo's parents were alive, their family did enjoy a moment of glory. Otherwise, Leo wouldn't have become close friends with Ethan. But after his parents passed, the family fortune plummeted. If not for Rose, I wouldn't have helped them at all. Their company should have gone under long ago. Leo had no skills in running a business, he only knew how to indulge himself. Over the years, he and his father had been leeching off Rose, so much so that they'd probably forgotten their own worth. I made a call to my assistant and instructed her to terminate all business dealings with the Leo family immediately. Not only that, but I wanted Leo to repay every benefit he had ever taken from Rose. 3 nights later, I was asleep when Ethan's phone rang. I didn't move, but he picked it up and tiptoed out to the living room. I got up and followed him, hearing Luna's sobbing voice in the empty space. Ethan, Leo's in trouble. A lot of people came and took everything from the house. We've been kicked out, and now we're homeless, Ethan comforted her gently. Lou, don't worry, tell Leo to take you to my apartment for now. But Ethan, what about my wedding? Everything was ready. If it doesn't happen this month and my belly starts showing, it'll look bad. Relax, Lou. I'll take care of your wedding. Thanks, Ethan. I knew you'd always be the best to me. I didn't listen any further and turned back to the bedroom. On the day of Leo and Luna's wedding, a large crowd attended. Though many had heard rumors about what had happened between me and Leo, seeing Ethan personally organizing the wedding made them give face and show up. Of course, I went too. I took the hotel's side entrance and sat quietly in the guest area early on. I instructed my assistant to take note of every guest who attended the wedding. Even a fool could see that Leo had remarried too soon after Rose's death. There had to be something fishy. But in their eyes, Rose was just the fake daughter of the Song family, insignificant and unworthy of attention. They assumed I wouldn't care. They freely discussed the horrific details of her fall from the building, laughing and joking about it. They casually compared her to Luna, belittling her to the ground as if she were utterly worthless. My bodyguards wanted to intervene, but I stopped them. The lights in the hall dimmed, and a spotlight shone on the doors of the venue. Ethan escorted Luna inside, her hand in his. He placed her hand in Leo's. "Take good care of her, Leo." Leo accepted her hand. When the officiant asked if he was willing to take Luna as his one and only wife, the same man who had been sobbing not long ago about only ever loving Rose nodded solemnly. How laughable. Zach clung to Luna, calling her Mom over and over again. They celebrated joyously, a picture-perfect family. But I had said it before, none of them would walk away unscathed. I swirled the wine in my glass, and just as the festivities were at their peak, the entire hall went dark. A screen lit up behind Leo and Luna, revealing a video. In it, Leo and Luna were lying naked in bed, tightly embracing one another. "Leo, do you love me more, or Rose?" Luna's voice cooed. "Of course, it's you, baby," Leo replied. "That foolish woman spends all day researching nutritional meals so naggy and annoying. Not like you, so graceful, so beautiful. Don't forget, she's the eldest daughter of the Song family." "Well, that's just a facade. Do you think she knows you talk about her like this behind her back? Even if she does, it doesn't matter. She loves me. I can buy her a random gift to cheer her up, and she'll forget everything in an instant." "You're terrible." "Oh, I can be worse. Want me to show you?" What followed next was a scene filled with unspeakable images and sounds. The private affair between Ethan and Luna was laid bare before the eyes of all the guests, sparking a wave of shock and outrage. Ethan and Luna were frozen in disbelief, while Rosie frantically rushed to block the screen, her voice cracking as she screamed, Who did this?" I stood up, adjusted my sunglasses, and let out a soft laugh. Rosie's ears caught my voice immediately. "Lily, why are you doing this to me? Why?" she asked, her fury making her look like a victim. "Why? You don't already know?" I replied calmly. The ballroom lights brightened, and every pair of eyes turned to me. I tilted my chin up and cocked my head slightly, flashing a sly grin at the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the food and drinks tonight. Tomorrow, things may not be so leisurely anymore." I kept my smile as I turned and walked away, the sharp click of my heels echoing through the room. Behind me, chaos erupted once more. "Mr. Gu, we only came here to support you. You've ruined us. Mr. Gu, you're married to Miss Song. You have to do something to save us. Don't leave, everyone, stop, this is my once-in-a-lifetime wedding. Ethan Lee, it's my wedding." Then came Rosie's piercing screams. My stomach. It hurt so much. "Call an ambulance, Lou." The ballroom descended into utter mayhem, but none of it had anything to do with me. My assistant followed closely behind, hesitating for a moment before asking, "Miss Song, are you really planning to take action against so many companies?" I pushed my sunglasses up slightly, a smirk forming on my lips. "Absolutely. My sister helped me rise to the top of the world, so I could always be true to myself. That means I don't care about a mere handful of companies. What about Ethan's company? I'll handle Ethan's company myself." "Understood." By the end of that day, most of the companies whose representatives attended the wedding were under investigation, tax evasion, others were hit with scandals that caused their stocks to plummet. Outside the Song family villa, crowds of people gathered. I stood by the window, watching them coldly. They were far from innocent. I could still hear their mocking laughter and cruel remarks from the ballroom. Everything they're facing now, they deserve it. My assistant walked in to report that some had sought refuge with Ethan's family. When Ethan finally called me, there was a pleading tone in his voice. "Lily, Lou lost her baby. Isn't that enough for you? Does that have anything to do with me? I only returned what she did to me, nothing more." It was only after repairing Rose's phone that I discovered the truth. Lou had intentionally sent her that disgusting video, which ultimately caused her miscarriage. "Lily, now I understand you're cold-blooded, a monster. Sleeping next to you all these years has been terrifying, truly horrifying." "Oh, then come back and sign the papers." "What papers?" "Divorce." "No way, Lily, I love you, I can't live without you. I won't agree to a divorce." Panicking, he hung up the phone. I called back, but his phone was already off. Ethan didn't dare to face me. He knew I was truly furious this time. He thought he could rely on my love to repeatedly help Rosie and Lou. He saw me as nothing more than a fool like Ro, willing to sacrifice everything for love. When Ro was still alive, I could pretend to love him, forgiving him for everything. I didn't care about his relationship with Rosie. but I couldn't tolerate him knowingly aiding and abetting Rosie's schemes, driving Ro to her death. After leaving the hospital, Rosie and Leo were targeted for revenge, narrowly escaping another admission. Panicked, they found that Ethan's apartment was no longer accessible. Rosie called Ethan, but he refused to answer. With no other options and not a penny to their name, they were forced into a dingy rental unit. Having offended so many people, they didn't even need me to act. Leo could hardly move forward on his own. He couldn't find work. Even when he managed to land a labor job, he'd be fired the next day. In the end, he spent his days lying in the rental unit, drowning in regret and despair. Rosie struggled the most. She couldn't believe that all her scheming had led to this life. Not only had she failed to secure the luxurious life of a rich wife, but she now had to work to support both Leo and Zach. Her once fair hands were now swollen and unsightly. Day after day, she waited for Ethan to rescue them from their misery. But what awaited her was endless housework, Zach's disdain, and Leo's drunken stupor. Luna once brought Leo and Zach to see me. Zach was sobbing uncontrollably, tears and snot all over his face. "Auntie, I was wrong, I miss my mom. Luna is your mom, you've got the wrong person." Those fake tears almost moved me to tears myself. I had the bodyguards throw them out, far away, afraid they'd taint Ro's eyes. After Zach returned home, he cried and fussed every day, demanding to live in a big house and dine at fancy restaurants. "It's all your fault. If it weren't for you, Auntie wouldn't be mad. I could have everything I want if it weren't for you. You're a bad woman." What greeted him was Luna's slap and punches, delivered in despair and anger after her dreams of a better life were shattered by the grind of reality. They would continue to torment each other, consumed by resentment in a suffocating and hopeless existence. As for Ethan, I filed for divorce directly. When the news broke, the stocks of the Ethan Corporation plummeted. I seized the opportunity and acquired a majority of the company's shares. Ethan came to the Song estate immediately. "Lily, do you truly not care about the bond we share as husband and wife? When you helped Leo and Luna drive my sister to her death, did you care about our bond as husband and wife?" I sneered at him. "You knew everything, yet still stood with Luna and Leo. You're worse than they are." "I was wrong, Lily. I've cut ties with them now, please believe me." "Too late. From the moment you sided with them, you should have known this day would come." I threw the divorce papers at him. He knelt at my feet. "Lily, give me a chance to make it up to you. I love you. You love me too, don't you? If you don't sign it, I have ways to make you sign obediently." In the end, he signed the papers, leaving with nothing but the clothes on his back. The day I received the divorce certificate, he looked unkempt and aged a decade overnight. He grabbed my sleeve and asked, "Lily, if I had told you everything and stopped Rose's death, would we have been happy forever?" I paused for a moment, then nodded. "But you chose Luna, didn't you?" He closed his eyes in pain. "Are you ready to face your despair?" His face turned ashen, his eyes completely devoid of light. "Lily, did you ever love me, even just a little?" I looked into his pleading eyes and smiled. "Never." He smiled too. "So it's all been my delusion. I thought you were like Rose, but in the end, I'm the fool. I was foolish enough to believe you loved me and would forgive me." I took everything from the Ethan Corporation, including all of the Ethan family's private assets. I wouldn't give him the chance to rise again, not even a sliver of hope. A month later, I saw Ethan wandering the streets, talking to himself like a madman. 6 months later, a fire broke out in a rental apartment. Word had it that a child playing with matches had ignited the curtains, causing severe burns to a family of 3. On the day I passed away peacefully, I saw a beam of light. When I opened my eyes, a hand appeared in front of me. A familiar voice sounded above my head. "Sis, it's time to go home." I looked up and saw a youthful but familiar face, a face adorned with a familiar smile. I nodded and held her hand tightly. "All right. There might be thunderstorms tonight. You'll need to protect me." "All right."